So welcome to the Directors Exchange with the title Family Ties, the Inherited and the Chosen. I'm very happy to have here with me Anthony Schatteman and also Ray Yeung. We're waiting for Lucia Romero to come. And you know, when we talk about families, they represent in very, very different forms, and it can mean stability, it can mean love, it can mean care, and so on. And for others, it can mean trauma and also heartbreak. And queer identifying persons sometimes have two kinds of family: the ones they grew up with and the ones they created. I'm happy to discuss the approach of family representation within the queer community and the importance of such to portray also in film. And first of all, I'm going to introduce you, and then hopefully we're going to have a good exchange on the different movies that you have. So I'm going to just skip Lucia, and when Lucia is here, I'm going to then introduce you, and going to start with Anthony Schatteman. You graduated from KSK School of Arts in Ghent, after which you obtained an additional master's degree in film studies and visual culture at the University of Antwerp. The world of young people and their relationships with the people around them, from the common thread in his word, characterized by the burgeoning sexuality and homoeroticism. Anthony portrays universal characters that everyone can identify with in a stylish way, with little dialogue and attention to emotions that are difficult to express. His first short film, Kiss Me Softly, was a true festival favorite, winning awards at international film festivals worldwide. 3 more short films followed: Follow Me, Petit Ami, and Hello, Stranger. And your debut film, Young Hearts, is running in Generation section this year, and you premiered already at Saturday. Congratulations for that. And so next screenings from this really lovely movie will be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week, so make sure to catch one of the screenings. I'm also happy to have here with me Ray Yeung. In 2021, Ray was represented with the Artist of the Year for Film Award from the Hong Kong Arts Development Council. Ray's third feature film, Suk Suk, Twilight Kiss, premiered at the Busan International Film Festival in 2019 and at Berlin Film Festival 2020 in Panorama. Suk Suk earned 5 Taipei Golden Horse Awards nominations and was also nominated for 9 Hong Kong Film Awards. Ray's first feature film, Cut Sleeve Boys, premiered at the Rotterdam International Film Festival in 2006. And the film won Best Feature at the Outfest Fusion Film Festival in LA. His second feature, Front Cover, premiered at the Seattle International Film Festival 2015 and was the closing film for the Asian American International Film Festival in New York 2016. In parallel, Ray has been the chairman of the Hong Kong Lesbian Gay Film Festival since 2000. So it is currently the longest running lesbian and gay film festival in Asia. All Shall Be Well is your fourth feature, which is running in Panorama section this year and had its premiere last Friday. It was very lovely. And it will be shown this week, Wednesday, Friday, and also Sunday, so make sure to catch up with this and prepare some tissues for both movies, because they were very, very touching, and I was crying a lot. My name is Nastaran, Tajeri-Foumani. I'm a non-binary curator, programmer, moderator, musician. I'm also a parent and also a couple and family therapist. So I see a lot of things going on. And I'm super happy to have this conversation with you. And my first question, or like to open up the conversation right now, is tell me about how you started developing your stories and how the story found you, or because you have different approach. Maybe it is autobiographical, or they're like research, or however. How did you find the story and how did you develop?
Hello everyone. Initially I started making my first short film in my master's degree, and when I was still in film school. and it was about me and my father. I wanted to make a film about the hard time I had telling him I was gay. So this feature film now is actually the long version of this short film. Initially, I really wanted to make a film for a young version of myself, because when I was young, I struggled with my identity, with my sexuality, and I couldn't really find examples in films, in books, in culture at all. So that made me realize that I just needed to make the film that I wanted to see for 34 years since I was born, and I did it. So this is the result. Young Hearts is a story about me and my way in becoming an adult, but also the story of me and my family and how I grew up in a very small town with a lot of questions that I couldn't find answers to, not at school, not at my family, not with my friends. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can totally relate to this. While growing up, I also did not have any representation of myself. So how about you, Ray? How is your approach?
Okay, so my film is called All Shall Be Well. It's a Hong Kong movie about two lesbians who have been together for 40 years and one passed away suddenly, and how that has affected her and her relationship with the deceased family members. The story came to me in 2020 when I went to a talk about Hong Kong LGBTQ communities' inheritance rights. After I went to the meeting, the speaker quoted 3 cases of people that he met who has their partner passed away, and how they basically lost everything, including their own home. So after the talk, I spoke to the speaker and asked him to introduce me to some of these people. So a couple of said no, and then a couple of them said yes. So I end up speaking to them and interview them. And quite quickly, I find out that there's a very common thread between these cases, is that the relationship between her and the deceased family members used to be very close. But almost overnight, or within a very short period of time, that relationship disintegrated very quickly. So I realized that as a member of the LGBTQ community, particularly in Asia and Hong Kong, even though you have been with someone for a long time and it looks like that you have been accepted by the family members, that can be taken away very quickly. So that is what my story is mainly focused on, about the struggle of someone, a surviving partner of a long-term relationship.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also super interesting, you know, when it comes to see different contexts and how LGBT rights or being like discriminated, also when it comes to age and so on. So thank you for that. I'm wondering, Anthony, can you share insights into the complexity of navigating personal identity and family dynamics? Because in your film there were so many situations where you could see that there are different dynamics in between. You have a very close relationship with your grandfather in the movie. With your mom, it's a bit ambivalent. It's not really clear what is. And your dad is, very self-centered and sharing or focusing his career. How did you navigate all these complexities and
When I was young, I think when we are young, we have the feeling that we're alone with the questions we have and with the struggle of being a teenager. But over the last years, my grandmother is now 97, so she's still alive. And when we talk about, a few months ago, she asked me, "What is your movie about?" And I was like, "It's about growing up and finding your place in the big world." It's about feeling a bit the outsider as well. And she said to me when she was 13 years old, she actually wanted to sing. She became a singer later, but at this age, she had the dream of being a singer. But she couldn't say this to her parents because the parents were farmers and they wanted her to work on the farm later. So suddenly she told me that she felt really alone with her feelings, and I was like, this is quite a bit like how I felt. And of course my story is about a boy falling in love with another boy. But I think all generations can relate to something that happened when they grew up. So for me it was really important to show the different generations, because I think grandparents expect less from their grandchildren than parents does from their children. So yeah, I really went back to what happened when I grew up, and my parents were quite conflict avoiding. They hoped that I was going to reach out to them, and if I didn't do this, and I really hope that my movie opens up the conversation that like parents will also reach out more to kids or something. Of course, it's a different time than when I grew up, but even now, I think it's always about the intern struggle. Parents can be very open, but I think this journey we have to go through is something that we have to experience on our own. But I think communication is the most important thing. So yeah, my mom is the most loving woman in the world. She's amazing, and I really needed to find someone who could also play this mom. And my father was just busy with his career. My father was like the singer, so he was always away. He was always in show business, and he was always talking negative about the gays in show business. Not because they were gay, but just because they were successful, and he was maybe less successful than them. But in my mind, I always heard that the gays in the show business were bad, and I was afraid that he was going to compare me to these bad singers. So that made it really hard for me to tell him I was gay. I waited until I was 23, and I had a boyfriend who played soccer, so they could watch football together. Yeah, and my brother was always telling his friends. In Belgium, we say. The bad word for being gay is Jeannette. Jeannette means really like you're a faggot. And he always said to his friends, faggot, faggot, faggot. It was just the word they used a lot. But I was gay. I was the faggot they were talking about, they were laughing with. So all these things, like growing up in this heteronormative like society, my brother had a really blonde, hot girlfriend when he was 15, and my father looked up to it, and I didn't have the girlfriend. So everything around me was just telling me that I was not normal. I was not fitting in. And telling this through the eyes of a kid with his family, I think is really important to show relationships and like family bonding. So if this answers the question a bit.
Yeah. Absolutely, thank you for that. And yeah, as I also, I love that this movie is for teenagers also, like for children, that they see this. And when we open up the binary, and your movie is for elderly people, also for young people to see, okay, what's coming. So write your last will, like this kind of things. And for me, it was special what I saw in both of your movies. It is you're kind of integrated, and then suddenly you're alienated, and then you have to find something that is your own. And I think this is also like something that queer people experience on various levels all over the world. That, yeah, and maybe you can explore a bit on this when it comes to your movie, and also like how it is in Hong Kong also.
Yeah, I think as a gay person, you always almost have to come out every day or every other day. There's always things that, because the world basically assume that you are straight, and therefore you always have to either pretend that you are straight so that let the comments pass, or you basically have to stand up and confront people all the time and telling that, no, actually I've got a boyfriend, no, I'm my partner, I don't have a wife or something like that. So I think that happens all the time. I think in Hong Kong particularly, because although on the surface it looks like a very cosmopolitan city, but a lot of the people still have a very strong Confucius beliefs. And which is a very, very traditional about following the family tradition and respecting the social decorum. So all those things makes it very difficult for you to come across as independent or someone who is individual, which individuality is not always respected or seen as a good thing. So for someone like that growing up is always very difficult. And even though if you want to form your own, say, adopted family in the sense that you have friends who are gay, it's not so easy because I say if you're in America, you can always, if you live in a small town, you can always move to a big city like San Francisco, LA, or New York, and reinvent your identity basically and meet a bunch of friends who are very similar to you and actually form your own family. But because in Hong Kong it's so small and the property prices are so high, most people actually live at home with their parents. So even though if you have find like-minded people and you want to be in a group, you still every day only have 2 or 3 hours spending that time with those people because you still have to go home afterwards. And most of these people, when they go back home, they are going back into the closet. So it's very difficult for them to actually form this so-called adopted family like you could have if you live in the bigger countries. And also makes it very difficult for you to fully develop your own identity because every day you only really have a short break between your work and going home, say when you hang out with your friends, to be yourself. And then also in Hong Kong, there's a lot of traditional holidays, which all are completely family orientated. Like in my movie, All Shall Be Well, there's the Mid-Autumn Festival dinner. There's a lot of festivals like that, like Chinese New Year, and the whole festival is always orientated around families gathering together with their kids and next generation and eating. That's always the case. So if you have a partner, during these holidays, you have to either leave them at home and go to your family gatherings on your own, or it's unlikely you can bring that partner over and be accepted, particularly for men. I think for women, it's slightly easier. People can assume that it's just a sister. But for a gay man, if you bring another man back to your family gatherings, that makes it very difficult and very obvious. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, most of the time it's like the best friend or like whatever roommate that people think when it's a lesbian couple. And with gays, there's another way of like a very violent discrimination also when it comes towards that. I was wondering, since I'm also like a queer parent with a 20-month-old little child and walking around and trying to, make the world for this child as queer as possible. What do you think, what do your films do to make the world a bit more queer and more like acceptance from the heteronormative side for the way queer people live and want to live? As every human wants to do, yeah.
Well, I grew up in the 90s, and my most amazing movie experiences were the moments where I was sitting with my parents and my brother watching like Mrs. Doubtfire, My Girl, The Parent Trap. But as I said before, there were no movies about boys falling in love and stuff, so I really wanted to make a really happy movie because we're talking about quite heavy stuff already, but I just wanted to say that my movie is just a very bright, colorful, happy movie about 2 boys who fall in love and experience love at a very early age. So yeah, for me it is I just hope that this movie will be looked at as just a movie about love. It's not a movie about two gays. I think it's really just a movie that needs to happen to just make everyone see that love is a universal thing. And if you have the right or you have the chance to follow your heart, whenever you feel love, I think you need to accept it, because it's too rare to let go. And I really hope, like a few years, 3 years ago in Belgium, some kids, they were 17, 18-year-olds, and they downloaded Grindr, and they invited a guy over in a park in Belgium, and they killed him during the night with a knife. And I was always thinking that my movie was going to be important for people like us who had difficulties growing up being queer. But the movie is also important for people who never talk about gays, or who never experience these stories in their habitat or in their social life. So I really hope my movie is just gonna maybe open up some dialogue between even cultures who never experience these stories. Yeah, I'm always going a bit far from the question.
I love it. That's the character of an exchange. What about you? What do you think?
Well, my story is the movie. The protagonist, basically, after she lost her long-term lover, overnight she lost the family that she thought she had. Basically, her partner's family, who she thought was her close family members, and then she also lost her home in the movie during the course of the journey. That she, because her partner did not make a will. And because in Hong Kong, same-sex marriage is not recognized, so she was not able to retain the home that she was living in. And then on top of that, because she no longer is the partner of this person, she also felt that she has lost her identity. And in order to stay in her apartment, she also had to go around and talk to the family members of the deceased and ask them to let her stay in the apartment. So you can see how degrading that is. And in the end, she also felt that she has lost her dignity. So we are really talking about someone, after the passing of her partner, she basically has lost everything, to the extent that towards the end, she started believing that maybe her partner never really wanted her to stay in that apartment anyway, and start doubting the relationship that they had and the love they had. But in the end, she was able to find a proof that her lover had always had her best interest at heart, and restore some kind of faith in it. So at the end of the story, she was kind of, she lost everything, but she didn't lose the one thing that's the most important to her, is the memory of their relationship, and also the love that she had for her lover. So I think that is very important for my movie, and I think for a lot of LGBTQ community is that we certainly have a tougher life than most other people, because right from the beginning that we have to, we are living in a place where every day there's a lot of homophobia messages, and also we have to be constantly be firm and believe in ourselves, and know that what we are doing, what we are behaving is the right thing to do, and not be affected by other people. So that's for my story. It has to be, in a way, a hopeful ending. I felt that despite all these difficulties, we have to believe in ourselves, and we have to believe in our choices, that what we have made is the right choices. The person we love is the right person. So otherwise, then if you let the society dictate how you feel, which every day they tell you that what you are doing is wrong, then very easily you can lose yourself. And therefore, there's a lot of younger kids in LGBT communities suicide, and not even younger kids, even people who have been together for a long time, maybe for one reason or another they get into some difficulties and easily get into depression as well. So, and that is because throughout your whole life there are so many hurdles that you have to go through. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, like the trauma that you're also addressing right now is caused by this heteronormative, very dominant societies that putting the pressure into the body and into the identity of queer people. And I also think, just what you said, that both your movies are super hopeful, and yours is like super like heartwarming and so on. Also yours, because also, I mean, we're facing like somebody dying and the grief and the loss of everything. And on the other side, there is so much love, dedication, and fight for rights and dignity that is also giving hope that the society might change. And what I also strongly see in your film work, also when it comes also to your last movie, Suk Suk, is that you're striking with your movies also different discrimination forms. You have age, you have poverty, you have LGBTIQ rights, and so on. So you're having so many multiple layers of what affects the life of different family forms, and what it makes also very difficult to just be who you are, and at the end of the day, the very strong need to be who you are, because you cannot change anyways.
Yeah, because like when I was doing a research for my film, I came across this woman, and she in a very similar situation where she lost her partner, and the family members wants to basically throw her out of the apartment. And then she said to me, I have to fight to the end. She said, because do you know why? It's not for the apartment. I have to fight to the end is because these people wanted to wipe out my relationship with my lover. They want to tell the world that it never existed. So I need to fight in order to let people know that, no, we were lovers. I existed. My relationship with her existed. And that is what is the most important to me. So that's what that woman said to me, which I thought that was a very touching. And also something that we have to constantly fight for is not to be ignored, and not all to be covered up or pretend that we never exist. Because like, particularly like say Chinese history, if you look back, I mean, homosexuality is hardly any historical reference to it. So for all these years, there is nothing that actually shows that we exist. And I think therefore making movies, that's why it's important, is because we are actually creating something in order to show the world that we exist. And even maybe hopefully years past, people can still see how LGBT people used to live and what kind of struggles that they used to have.
Yes, word. And I was wondering, Anthony, what kind of plans do you have for future films? Do you have any ideas where you're going on? Are there is it going to be like queer, or is it about love? Is it about, what is it? What are you planning?
I think it's always going to be queer.
Thank you.
I think it was never my intention to make a kids movie. I mean, now they're gonna say it's a young adult movie, so that's good. It was never really my intention to make a story for a young audience, but as we saw with the short film, the response was really good because we saw that a lot of young people were watching this movie. After the shoot, I saw the first version of 3 hours and 30 minutes, and I started crying because it was so bad that I went home and I had to think of a new idea, because I was like, oh shit, this movie is gonna be so bad, I need to have a new plan. And I was thinking, this is too childish, this is too funny, this is too... So I went to watch Past Lives that night, an A24 movie, and it took me back to the 10 years relationship I had with my ex-boyfriend. And I came up with a new idea, and it's different, but it will still be a very happy movie. I think shooting this film, seeing the reactions of people now, it brought me so much joy that we were just filming a really nice, funny, cool film with happy feelings. And maybe, I don't know why, but people told me maybe it's because we come from a time when we had COVID and everyone was like sad and everyone was like missing people around them. I really think I want to keep on making films that are just happy, and yeah, that's something I realized during the shoot, during the editing. People were sometimes, I was sometimes asking myself, am I going too far with the strings and the big orchestra, and is it going to be too romantic? And my friend said, we really need this now. We really need these romantic stories. And no, like in the film, it's quite easy for him telling everyone he's gay. And someone asked me, is it that easy in Belgium to come out? And I said, no, of course not. But I just wanted this story to exist. I grew up with Disney movies and with big Hollywood movies who has happy endings, and that's really just a choice that I wanted to make. And so yeah, my next work will always be queer and will always be about emotions that I experienced myself, because I think the stories we experienced ourselves are the stories we need to like share with the world. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I think happy is also very important, because my mom said, why are queer films always so sad and somebody's dying? Something is like always like, wow, but you're also happy people, just make happy movies. So let's see. Thank you for that.
Well, I think, of course, thank you. I think also the sad stories, they always also need to exist, of course.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I think just representation about all stories just need to exist. So I think, yeah, voilà.
And I'm very happy that Lucía is here. Yay! Happy premiere. Welcome on stage. Hey.
She just had her premiere, so let's give a good applause, I think.
Sorry, I was just rushing here.
Yeah.
Couldn't make it on time, but very happy to be here with you.
Oh, that's so good to have you here. And I really loved your movie. It's a total different movie than I saw before, because it's very like rough, very clear. Also, there are a lot of topics. Also, you're striking. Violence also, you know, and I was wondering about your approach, and maybe you can give a little log line about your movie. I think you're warmed up because you just had a Q&A, huh?
Yeah, right.
So
I have it fresh in my mind.
yeah.
Okay, so my movie is a short film. We are in 14+ generation, and it's the story about Jessica and Alma, who are two sisters, 14 and 8 years old each. And basically, the short film follows them throughout one day of their lives, where they have to go to the food stamp office to get some food. And it's also a San Juan, which is a Spanish holiday. So they want to celebrate with their friends, but they have to carry on these adult responsibilities. And there's a conflict in the household. They are being abused by their father. So that kind of abuse gets tainted in their relationship. And basically, it's a journey that they take on, and they go together. And throughout that day, they decide that they want to treat each other with more tenderness and less violence, basically.
Yeah, and can you tell us about the approach, how you wrote the story, and how you developed the figures and also the story? Like, how did you do this?
So this is a story, a family story. So it's the story of my aunt and my mom. And so, well, growing up, I always heard their story, and their story also, of course, impacted me. So when I had the opportunity to do the short film, I had a very clear in mind. I wanted to speak on the consequences of violence and how that translated into the sisterly bonds. So, yeah, writing it, I was just trying to find a good plot per se to show what was behind those two sisters. And yeah, it was very important to me to talk about violence but not show it, which is something that I explore in the film. I explore the consequences and the causes of violence, but not violence itself. So yeah, that was kind of it.
Yeah, and your decision of focusing on the sisters and not on the parent relationship, can you explore a bit on that?
Well, there was a very big part of me that wanted to speak on generational trauma and how patterns or behaviors are passed onto generations. So I was like, I wanted to make Jessica, the older sister, the protagonist, also because she was at that stage in her life where she's building her identity, and she's deciding what patterns of behavior she's gonna keep from their parents and which ones she's gonna build or throw away. So yeah, it was only natural for me to see how Jessica treated her younger sister, the way she was being treated by the adults, and how she decides to make that change.
Yeah, thank you for that. And maybe also what I really liked about your movie is that it is about like the relationship between the sisters, and also like you don't see the violence, you just hear it, or you can sense it in the figures, or like how they react. And also Jessica is queer, or she has like a desire, but it is not the focus of the movie. It is, yeah, Jessica with her sister, and she is queer. And it's really like that it's not. It is about queerness and coming, you know, like so. Yeah, what was your decision there, and why?
So, well, when it come down to it, I knew I wanted some part of tenderness in the story, and I wanted to show Jessica's softer side. And yeah, when I was developing this kind of plot with Nati, who's her crush, and it only felt right to represent what I know and what I have experienced. So it wasn't even something that I like considered. I was just like, this is a very close and personal story to me, so might as well make it something that I know. It just, there wasn't a thought in my mind to represent a hetero relationship because I've never been in one, so I was like, well, it's gonna be a girl. Yes. Yes. That's kind of it.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, do you have any questions for each other? Is there anything?
Are you planning to make it into a feature?
It sounds like a very good plot for a feature as well. Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I only read your press kit.
Well, yes, that's the idea a little bit. It actually, that's something that happens in short films, I think, where you write a lot and you make a whole universe and everything, well, there's a lot of things that are left out, right? Because you only have 15, 20 minutes. So yes, I've had the urge to continue to explore this topic of generational trauma and violence, yes.
And had your family seen it, the short film? How was it?
Yes, it was my mom is here, yes. So it was very emotional. Yeah, it was very nice, very emotional. And also, I think it's also been very healing to our family, really, because at the end of the day, the screen it's like a mirror you put on yourselves, right? So it's been also something that has served to open up some conversations that were maybe closed. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And how about you? Did your family see your movies?
Well, my father was sitting next to me. He didn't read the script, he didn't see it. He only saw the short film, but in the short film, the father is really homophobic. And he comes out not good. So they asked me about the seating in the room, and I asked to have my mom next to me, because yeah, she's just the woman who made me become the guy I am today. But I was entering the room and I saw my father was sitting on the spot of my mom. And I was like, I think it maybe was a sign that this had to be like this, because so I was sitting next to him, and in the whole film, all the scenes with the mom are very positive, but the father is just always not there and just telling my main character that he needs to be careful if he has sex with his girlfriend, because all these things, all the scenes that also like happened in real life. And my father was really having like this kind of panic attack during the movie, and he was constantly telling me, I'm not gonna come out good here. Eh? People are gonna hate me after this screening. So constantly he was like telling me, oh my God. And I was like, no, wait until the end, because in my movie it happens, it ends quite happy and quite okay. But it was really, I also felt like even my brother is it's really like a manly man, like everything I was not when I was young. And for the first time in my life, I saw him crying, during the movie. And after the movie, I was like, oh my God, you were crying. And he said, I was not. So it was really, I get emotional thinking about it, because it was so amazing to see the reaction of my parents. And today I received the pictures that were taken by my team, and I think it's the most beautiful thing that happened. Like, there was also one scene in my movie where he tells his mom that he likes a boy. It's in a car, and he asks, Mom, can you stop the car because I want to tell you something? And they stop the car, and the brother is also sitting in the front, but he's just saying nothing. And I was laying in the trunk of the car with my monitor, and my main character is 13 years old, and we talked a lot about emotions. He is not gay, he knows, but he knows what fear is, what sadness is, what love is. So I asked him, can we do the first shot on you? He was like, yeah, he didn't care, because he's just a good actor, I think. But mostly I think about who do I want to film first, because I knew it was gonna maybe become emotional. And the actor said, okay, you can start on me. And I was like, maybe I should start with a close-up on him. And we were starting the scene, and he was like, I saw in his eyes that tears were coming up. I asked before, do you need a stick for your tears? He said, no, it will be okay, we'll see. And I was also like, if he didn't cry, it was also gonna be okay for me. It was just like, let's see what happened, and don't do a rehearsal, let's just shoot it. And we only did one take, because this close-up is the craziest thing that I ever experienced in my life. And then, of course, I was dying in the trunk. So after this, I needed a break for 30 minutes. I had to puke and stuff, so it was really heavy. Yeah. Then we had 4 hours overtime. And I was driving home, because I stayed 2 months in the village where I grew up, because we were shooting there, in my bedroom. And I came home to my mom, and I collapsed completely. And she came in, and she thought, shit, the shoot went bad or something happened. And it was just, this moment was the moment that I think I waited for my whole life. We never really talked about being gay. It was always okay for her. But this moment in the kitchen was like, it was the best moment, like, of the whole shoot. Just being there, she knew what happened, I think. And yeah, it was this whole movie brought us so much closer, even me and my father, my brother. I just experienced how lucky I am to have them around me, even though we don't talk about sexuality. For the first time in my life, I realized that my brother also had conversations about my sexuality with his friends and stuff. Because during the casting, we were casting the brother and his girlfriend. So we saw a lot of girls, but we already had the brother, and they were improvising. And I was telling them, can you maybe just play a scene where me just told you I was gay, and you come into the room with your girlfriend? And they started talking about this, and he was like, yeah, something happened. My brother just told my mom he likes a boy, and I started crying so much that everyone was like, what? All these girls were like, which kind of movie is this? And then suddenly I realized my whole family had talks with like their friends, or their in between as well, and I never really thought about this before. So yeah, the whole movie made me realize that the whole family is just important for me, and voila.
So it was some kind of a restorative, therapeutical journey you went through also with your film, like creating it and then showing it, also healing family traumas and hurt wounds. What about you? Did you show this to your family members?
Well, I had my world premiere, I think, last Friday, and I'm from Hong Kong, so my family's it's a bit far for them to travel. So no, But earlier we talked about adopted family, and I have my adopted family here. They are more important to me in many ways. Stan, Chowie, and Teresa, who have been with me making this movie, and Chowie particularly is someone that I worked with many, many years ago. And at first she was an actor, and then later on we produced a few films together. And Stan also, we met in New York and been working together ever since. And Teresa, after I moved back to Hong Kong, and she has been with me all along. So I think they are my adopted family. I'm so happy to be sharing this moment with them as well.
Yeah, of course, of course. When I say family, I also mean all kind of family structures, of course.
But
yeah.
like, can I have a question for you? Ray? So the movie is also based on something that you experienced and you heard in real life. Are like these two? Is one of the women still alive, or like how does it work?
Well, actually, it's a good question. I mean, it's not my personal experience. It's all through researchers. And but one of the cases, the woman who have lost everything, I asked her after the movie is finished, is whether she wanted to put her name on the thank you list. And then she said to me, she said, no, I have moved on already. I've decided not to want to, indulge in any of this past history, so please do not put my name down. And in fact, a lot of them refused to put their names down into the thank you list. And that is part of the showing that it's still very closeted. Even though after all this history has passed, they still didn't really want, even on the thank you list, they didn't want to put their names. And some of them said, okay, but I will use my cat's name, or another name, in order to pretend that it's not them. So yes, I think it is still very difficult. Particularly, we're talking about people of a certain age group. They are all in their 60s or 70s, and they are coming from an era where homosexuality were really scorned, as really, really looked down on. And I think a lot of them, it's difficult to accept because they themselves also do not truly accept themselves. They still feel that their desire for another woman is still shameful and therefore cannot be shown to the world. It's very, very deep-seated, that kind. It's very different from us because to a certain extent, because I think we kind of, to a certain extent, believe that it's not wrong, but we just have difficulties of telling the world about it, or we have to come across of changing our mind from being felt that it was shameful to not. But for them, because they've taken them so long, I truly believe that they don't actually feel very proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And this reminds me also about the concept of inviting in instead of coming out, because coming out is queer people coming out to the heteronormative world, and inviting in shifts the power relationship, so we can show, who we are to the normativity, whatever that is. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for that. And I think also it depends, where we are, if we're in the city or in a village. On where on this earth we are, and I think being queer and out and loud is not that common as we think when we're, for example, in the Western world and think this is like, oh yeah, we're somewhere, but yeah, experiencing also a backlash when it comes to right-wing extremism and so on, and it goes back to criminalizing also queer identities. So yeah, hopefully we're going to have hopeful messages out there to change society from within. I would open the microphone for the audience. If you have any questions or are curious about something or want to dive deeper into anything, you can raise your arm. When it comes to family, everybody is like reflecting on their own stuff. I'll give you a little second. There is a question.
This is actually a question for Anthony. I wanted to ask how difficult it was for you to cast your film, because your actors are so young. And for them to play, and you just said they are straight. So how did you cast, and how did you also make them understand what it was like to come out? Because I imagine they are still also exploring their own identity.
Yeah. We didn't say what the movie was about when we cast it. So we just told everyone it was a movie about love and about friendship. We saw 1,500 boys in 10 days. So we saw every 30 minutes we saw 15 boys. It was quite heavy, and we started casting between 11 years old and 18 years old because I didn't know, I was not sure which age I needed. I was writing down 14, 15 years old, but I saw very quickly that they were too mature already, and I really wanted the boys just to be cute and just to be fun and just to be very young and innocent, and and then we talked about myself and about the story. I did all castings with my best friend, who's also a children psychologist and therapist. Whenever the kids had questions about sexuality, about all these things, about emotions, they could always go to him. They also had a lot of talks with the parents, with their parents, the parents alone with Oliver, so my best friend. And then we were, of course, we had to ask a question: do you mind playing a boy who falls in love with a boy? But they were so open about this. At this age, Lou, my main character, he was not really saying like I'm gay or straight. He was not really busy with this. He was just still young, I think. He never experienced love as well. He was just very free. And then Marius, who plays Alexander, he is really a boy from Brussels, and he's in this art school, and he's just surrounded with so many nice characters and personalities that for him it was also like, I don't mind to kiss a boy. The kiss in my film is very innocent as well. But of course they had to be okay with it because I did 24 takes of the kiss scene, so they had to be okay with like kissing someone. But we just so when they said they were okay with being gay, with playing someone gay, they really said to me they just felt the story was very important to share, and they really wanted to be the face of this message. And it was so weird because it's so smart of them. I was playing with Barbies when I was 13, and these kids, they want to represent the queer community, and so that's so cool for them to do this. And it's also very, I think it was very scary as well. But even now, they're like so happy with the movie, and and then we just had so many time together. We went bowling, we went camping, we went to go see a lot of movies. We never rehearsed with dialogues and stuff. We just made them become friends, and they became best friends. So that was really easy for them to play like friends. And then when we did like kiss scenes for them, it was just such a technical thing. It was like not scary anymore. So yeah, it was a tough casting process. We looked a long time for finding the chemistry and. Yeah, and then the last round, I found Alexander quickly, so the love interest, but I didn't find my main character. So I invited 9 potential main characters, but the first moment they saw each other, they went sitting next to each other, and I saw immediately this is the match, and we made the best choice ever. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Are there any more questions? Yeah, let's open for the cast question. I think it's also very interesting how you found your protagonists and the cast.
Okay. Well, in my case, since it was a short film and we didn't have that much time to prep, I think I wanted to work with non-actors, and so I was looking at Black young girls from Barcelona who were around, and I think we saw like 30 of them, and those 30 girls were my 2 protagonists, And I was lucky enough to do the casting 6 months earlier to the shooting. So it was definitely, they definitely had the energy of the characters, not so much the technical, of course, like aspect of acting, but I saw something in them that resonated with the characters. So I decided that they were gonna play Jessica and Alma, and we had 6 months to just, as you said, become friends, become besties, the three of us, with Ana Barja, who is also the coach for the film. And yeah, it was really building that trust, that bond. And also we improvised a lot of the scenes in terms of the dialogue. So it was just doing improvs one time a week. And also, as you said, getting ice cream and yes, having fun together.
Thank you. How about you, Ray? Did you have ice cream?
Well, my two actresses are in their 60s, so I didn't get them ice cream. So.
Why not?
Oh, how they're always complaining about being cold, so I gave them hot water instead. So Petra, I worked with her before, the main protagonist, the lead. She was in Suk Suk. She played a poor woman who is married to a closeted gay man, and she knew about it but tried to keep it quiet and to herself. And that was her first movie. Petra was a theater actress before, but never done movies. So I was introduced to her and thought she was very good at the audition. And so I casted her, and then she won Best Supporting Actress at the Hong Kong Film Awards. So I thought, oh, well, I really wanted to work with her again. And when I was researching for this movie and start writing, I soon realized that I was projecting a lot of her in the script because of the way she moves, and she's very elegant, and she has this softness, but also this strong mentality that I was looking for in the protagonist. So therefore, slowly I was kind of like writing someone sort of like modeling on her. So when it's finished, then I asked her whether she wanted to do it, and then she was interested. So that was quite easy, that part. And then, but finding the long-term partner, that was difficult. And we went through a lot of actresses. But in Hong Kong, actresses of that age group, 60 or 70, there's actually not a lot of them around because a lot of them retire in their 30s, got married, and didn't stay in the industry. And there's only a handful of them that stay in the industry, and they kept on playing mothers in all the television soap operas. So eventually I had to look through a lot of old movies and old TV series in order to find the character that I like. And eventually I came across Maggie. In all the 90s TV series or movies that she did, she came across as very fresh, has a very modern woman kind of feel. So I approached her through her husband, who is still acting, and she read the script, and then 2 days later she said, okay, I will do it. She hasn't acted for 30 years. So I said, wow, okay, so thank you, but why do you want to do this role? And then she said, well, actually, all through the years, a lot of people have asked me to do to act again, but I'm not interested because they always cast me as someone's mother or someone's grandmother. She said, but in your movie, I'm actually a real person. I'm three-dimensional. I have my own goals. I have my own interests. I have my own lover. And so that was something that is very challenging. I've never played a lesbian before either. So that's why she accepted the role. Yeah.
It's beautiful because I also thought very, very strongly in your movie that male gaze is almost absent. It is a radical female gaze positionality, and also as a spectator and also as camera, you feel it like in so many different levels. It was so interesting that Maggie also said, I can be a person. Wow, and how sad for the industry that people have to go through this kind of experience though. Yeah, okay, thank you. Do you have any questions? No? Or you have any questions for each other?
I had one question for you. during the casting process, were you looking at younger versions of your family, or were you quite open to just have this new faces or new characters as well, or how was this for you?
I think definitely the temperament, it was definitely inspired by my family and by these characters that are built around my mom, my aunt, and a little of myself, of course. And yeah, I was like, I wanted Jessica to be a very like rough around the edges kind of girl, like very straightforward and impulsive. And once Rosé, who's the main character, came in the casting, she was a bit younger than the other actors. She was 13 only. And she was very like, she owned the room. She was there. She never acted in her life. And she was like, oh, where can I see? She just had that energy. Like yes. We were trying to impress her kind of thing. So I was like, definitely like, yeah, she sounds and looks like my mom. She has her energy. And then for the little one, who's inspired on my aunt, who's kind of more like me, more introverted, more sensitive, and yeah, more like, yes. And the little one was just like that. She was, of course she was more little, but she was very observant and very quiet, but also like, yeah, you could see she was processing things. And yeah, I was like, she's her. I want her. So yeah, it was really, really, yeah, it came, I think, from the writing process, even before the casting, so yes.
And can you also, because all your protagonists, they're having like a very interesting intersectional also background. Can you talk about that a bit and how, because while writing it can go very fast in stereotypes, and you absolutely did not. It was so authentic and really like touching, and you could see it is a story that is not being told from another gaze. Can you explore a bit on that, like how the inside came outside also?
Well, I'm half Cuban, half Spanish, and I was born in Barcelona. I've grown up all my life more around my white family, which is my mom and the ones who are inspired, but I wanted to film the film to be represented by Afro-descendant Spanish girls, basically because Spain is not a white country. Like, it's still represented in the media as a very white country, but you go out in Barcelona and you can see immigrants from all over the world. And I've always been around that diversity in my life. But when I watched the films, of course, I was film crazy since I was little. When I watched like the girls I wanted to become kind of thing, or the representation, I've always found that they didn't look like me. So yes, I wanted to represent that experience where you grow up. For me, I grown up in Spain. My family is half Spanish. So I feel very Spanish, you know what I mean? But it sometimes feels like you just don't belong there just because of the color of your skin, So that identity has always been a bit complicated for me, because although I feel Spanish and I identify with the culture, they have often made me feel like I wasn't quite like full-on Spanish, So yes, as you said, casting the two girls and making the film, it was something that it was almost like physical. Like they were part of two cultures, but they were living in Spain and existing in Spain just as any other white girl would, you know what I mean? And with the queer side, it was also drawn from experience, of course, so I think it was very natural for me. So yeah.
Yeah, and I also like, because of representation, you also had it like that kids grow up and see the same representation also in TV or like in films and so on. And you also have this aim, I guess, that other black people from Spain say, okay, I'm not completely alone in this world. I'm also on television, there are people like me on television and not so alienated. Yeah.
Yes, right, because I think representation is very important, especially for young people who are trying to build their identity. And at least for me, and I wasn't born that long ago, if you think about it, like I was born in 1999, and there were already a lot of immigration here in Europe, and especially in Spain. And so, yeah, it really tainted my identity since a very young age. And I have a funny story. When I was 5 years old, since my mom is white, and of course all little girls want to be like their mom, normally, I wanted to be like my mom. So from the age of 2, when I started to draw, to the age of 6, I think, I always painted myself as white. So I would draw my father as black, my mother as white, and I would draw myself as white as well. And it wasn't until I spent a summer in Brazil, and I went to the school there, and my school was very diverse. There were a lot of people, and I saw myself reflected in my other kids that were like biracial like me or black. And then it was at 6 years old that I started drawing myself as a biracial girl. So it's just a reflection of how important it is to see ourselves represented. Yes, to form our own identity early on.
Thank you for the insight. I'm not giving up. Do you have any questions? It's your chance. Yeah, I think also as a queer non-binary parent myself, I also see a very lack of representation when it comes to movies, books, or whatever. You know, like there is nothing actually about non-binary people. And then being a parent, do you think that when you think of different family structures, queer family structures, and so on, that there is the possibility of diversifying the narratives and not just going from the heteronormative experiences we had, but trying to make a utopian future, maybe some queer futurism. I don't know, what do you think about that concept?
Well, I think so. I think, of course, you know, because movies is supposed to reflect reality, and in fact, in reality, that there are a lot of LGBT families that are not sort of like formed in that kind of environments. And I think as we progress, and the more we normalize that and show that on screen about how we live and do it truthfully and authentically, I think that will be able to help people to see that it doesn't have to be in a model, and people have to realize that that model is actually man-made. It's actually not, doesn't mean that it's natural just because it's existed for a long time. It's just because it's a dominant model, and it's the one that has suppressed the other existence. So our job is really to reflect that no, there are other alternative ways of living, and they are perfectly fine and perfectly natural, and so that people were beginning to see that we need diversity.
What about the others? Queer futurism.
I think you said everything. So yeah, no, I think it's just very, very important, and not just to tell story about like about gay issues or something, but I think it's also important to just tell stories about characters who are accidentally gay or something, you know, that it's like just a story about that could happen between straight couples, like a couple about a story about a divorce maybe, but then suddenly it is about two women getting divorced or something. So I think, but we're getting there, I think, and we're seeing stories that are just stories about families and not just stories about queer families or something. So we still have to go a long way, I think, but I see, like, yeah, it's so cool that everyone is just going for what they want to make, and yeah.
Yeah, and also I think it's a reflection of identities or like personalities and their emotions, and the focus on this. And of course, when it comes to intersectionality and so on, we experience different things and have therefore also different experience emotions, but it's about focusing on that rather than on sexuality or like gender identities and so on, although it plays a role.
Well, I think like the 3 projects that we made, I think the films are not just about like, it's not just about LGBTQ themes. I think it's just stories about love and about like opening up, following your heart, being yourself, I think. And like, of course, it is like something that happened in like a gay relationship then with the 2 women and stuff. But I think people can relate to these stories because everyone has the same emotions and everyone have like experienced things. And I think it's important for us to just like tell stories for a broad audience and like and
hopefully the funding system will accept that, because usually when it comes to queer movies they want to see like one thing. No, but where is the coming of age? Where is the coming out? Why is this so normalized? You know, can we just tell the story differently? And no, so there has to be also like politically from the film community this strong will to tell the stories and not to. Oops. Have I been censored? No. But to tell the story and not to putting yourself into the box or something like this. Yeah. Yes. I give you another chance for a question. There is one question.
Thank you. You wasn't asked, 3 of you. I'm just curious to find out how long did it take for your project to come alive from story, from the script to filming till now?
Well, in my case, this was a school project, so it was my final school project, so it was really given to me before I thought about the idea. So it's an abnormal process, I think. But yeah, I had this idea of these characters and this story, and since I started really studying film, I think. And at the end of my career, in my time in uni, I wrote the script during 6 months or so. And then we did castings, we rehearsed and did the locations and the planning and everything. And yeah, I think more or less a year of pre-production, and then more or less another year for the post-production, which took very long, because we shot in a documentary type of style. So we had a lot of footage. And we had to cut it down and decide what we wanted to keep and what we didn't want to keep. So that was a kind of a longer process. But yeah, now we're here.
All right. Okay.
Sorry,
my project, started.
Sorry. How about production? How long did that take?
The production?
Yeah.
Oh, we shot it in 7 days. Yes. Yes. Because it's a short film. So yeah, we did it in 7 days, which is a lot for a short film. Yeah. But we were lucky enough to have also a slow pacing set for the kids, because we shot with the youngest one was 3 years old. So we really needed the time to decompress and to, make it also a fun experience for them. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So I started researching the script in 2020, and then I think it's taken 4 years really. I think the most difficult part actually was trying to find money. Funding was very difficult because there was the pandemic. So a lot of the cinemas lost money. and production company lost money, and so therefore they were very reluctant to put money in this kind of project. And if they were going to put money into a project, it will have to be something that is mainstream and preferably a comedy, because they felt that the world is depressing enough already. So particularly this story is dealing with death as well. So that is something that it took us a long time. We at the beginning, I think we had a lot more interest, but some of the companies basically folded up during the pandemic. From talking to signing the contract, in the end, they basically just closed business. So we basically lost a lot of funding opportunities that way. And we also applied to the government for funding, but the process was very, very long. And I think also maybe the topic again was difficult, because the Hong Kong investment, the funding bodies, unlike a lot of other countries, is they actually do it. It's called co-financing, so it's not a grant, and it's they wanted the project to be a commercial so that they can share the profit afterwards. So it comes across as almost like a lending money, a co-investment, rather than supporting films that is underrepresented. So therefore, it makes it a little bit difficult that way as well. So eventually, it took us a long time to get private funding together to make it.
We pitched the idea exactly 4 years ago, and but we got every step immediately. So it's the fastest you can make a movie at this level in Belgium, then we had to present some scenes at the sales festival in, I think it was beginning of October. We just started 1 week of editing. And then the Berlinale said, whenever you have a first screener, send it to us. But we were sure this was never gonna be finished. And then at the beginning of December, we had a version of the edit, still very bad, but they liked it. So they asked us, will you be ready in time? So we hired a lot of people to make sure we finished the movie on time. So yeah, and now we're here. So yeah, some sound is still not finished yet. So we're gonna work until the end of March for the new mix. So yeah, it took us 4 years. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And yeah, look at the last time in here. If there is no other question, I would really, really love to thank you for your time, for your dedication, for all the creativity, the love you have, and for bringing these beautiful movies to Berlin. I was very, very happy to moderate this panel, and thank you very much for this talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.